The next story is to die for. And by to die for, I mean the killing of esports.
Well, good morning, Gomez.
Oh, good morning, Mater.
Good morning to all of y'all.
Welcome to Games for Breakfast, the weekly talk show where we not only discuss this week's gaming news, but that has also been an Addams family tradition since God knows when. We had Games for Breakfast when Nero fiddled. We had Games for Breakfast at Waterloo. We did Games for Breakfast for Jack the Ripper. And now, Brad, Janet, and all of chat, we do Games for Breakfast for you. No, now the show starts.
Now the show starts?
Now
All
the
right.
show can start.
Okay, yeah, no, that feels good. That feels good. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Happy Halloween.
Yeah. So, happy Halloween to one and all. If you're watching this on YouTube, this makes more sense than the people who were watching this on Twitch, who came over and were like, "What? Oh."
You see? Because we time travel.
We do. So Matt is excellent, Gomez Addams.
Because as chat has pointed out, Gomez has two settings: 0 or 5,000.
That's correct.
And I kind of operate on the same thing. The only thing I would say that I differ from Gomez Addams is cigars taste real bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like them, but I will still commit to the bit.
Okay, that's fair.
And you, the illustrious Will, is of Cars fame.
That's correct. I am a humble tomater from Cars. My hat will be messing with the green screen all day, and my camera's white balance. I regret nothing.
And as we said in the pre-show, which you would have known, contractually in all of our contracts at EC, only one of us can wear a hat at one time.
Right.
So to do this, we had to switch.
Right. That's correct. 100%. Matt.
Yeah.
In honor of Halloween.
Yes.
I thought we could talk a little bit in this pre-actual show about what our favorite spooky games are. Do you play
in the actual show?
In the actual show, after the pre-show, but before we talk about all of the topics.
Of course, yes. Time being an illusion and all. Yeah, no, we were talking about this before. 'Tis the season to play the spookiest of games.
That's correct.
And we have our sort of like favorites. We were reminiscing a bit in our meeting before the Actually, it's technically during the pre-show.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. That's not on anywhere.
Right. It's our pre-show, not your pre-show. Those are different.
Yeah, there's two different.
We can see how you might be confused.
But I think the first time that I really engaged with like knowing and enjoying and hunting down a game for it being spooky was probably the OG Resident Evil. I think probably the 96 version when the dogs smash through the windows in the hallway. I think Jill is walking through. I forget which character it is, but like there's a real good jump scare there.
I just remembered one, Matt.
What'd you
Speaking
get?
of originals, the first game I played on the Extra Credits Twitch channel was at Halloween season, and I played Fear. First Encounter Assault
that's
Recon.
Right.
It was my first game. I'm not normally a big fan of spooky games. Matt's spooky game list is much longer than mine. But I did play Fear, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And there's definitely an ancient Twitch clip floating around of me, like, getting jump scared and emptying an entire mag of SMG ammo in an empty hallway. Just like, all right, it works. We're good. It's fine.
I love it. Yeah, people in chat. Oh, by the way, our featured.chat thing, which normally has all of Brad's stuff right there, is busted today. It's not on us. It's on them. We tried fixing it, but we couldn't fix it in time.
It's haunted for Halloween.
Of course. But, you know, sometimes being haunted for Halloween is good. No, everyone you know didn't just Discord call you. I just put that song because it's a banger on my soundboard. I love it so much. I love it so much.
We're gonna get so many angry comments, and chat is gonna be so upset.
Happy Halloween. No, so sorry. I'm not even going to read the comments right now. I can't at this point. Also, another classic spooky game, obviously sort of in the same genre with Silent Hill. That's a bit more cerebral in its spookiness. But then more recently, The Seventh Guest. Has anyone played The Seventh Guest? Did you ever play that back in the day, Will?
No.
It basically, in the olden days, when computers had CD-ROM drives.
I remember.
There was a game kind of in the same vein of a Myst, but it was in a haunted mansion called The Seventh Guest. And they actually just re-released it for PSVR 2, and I'm looking forward to checking it out, though I have heard bad reviews, but we'll see. Patch notes can fix that. You have some good ones on your list, though.
Yeah, so I don't enjoy playing them very much, but one of my favorite things about spooky games is listening to my friends play Phasmophobia and Demonologist, because it's very, like, methodical. It's very scientific until somebody gets jump scared, and then great. I don't get any particular joy out of it, but like I'll hang out and work on a project or play a different game or whatever in the Discord call that they're like using. And it's always fun. It's such a good time.
Nice. Yeah, that's very cool. Also, shout out to Kachif in the chat who says they still have their Seventh Guest discs. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love it. More recently, I got into Until Dawn and Until Dawn Rush of Blood. Those were really, really fun horror games, especially kind of in the same vein, because Until Dawn's a little bit like it's almost like a walking simulator with like light quick time elements and horror choices, which is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And then Rush of Blood was the PSVR 1 game where you're in the same universe but on a haunted rail car that was just exquisite.
Nice.
Also, I think, well, I don't know. There's another one. There's another one from that studio that just released for PSVR 2. It is not as good yet, but I'm hoping it gets better as it goes on.
Yeah. One of my one of my favorites was Resident Evil 4, not on the PlayStation nor on the GameCube, but on the Wii, because then you can see how like stressed and scared you're getting. And anytime you hear that chainsaw rev in the background, my aim always went to crap, because you're not aiming with the controller, you're aiming with the Wii mode. You can like see like it was great. I loved it.
And of course, my last game, which I didn't know was a horror game until now, was literally the Addams Family on the 1991 cartridge for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I actually played the heck out of that game, and I loved that, like, back in the day, I didn't fully understand it, and I didn't, like, you just get lost, and it's weird, and the art style is incongruent, but, like, it's still this weird, beautiful mishmash that I actually did really like. If I had time, I would love to play it on stream at some point, because I bet you it would only take 50 minutes at this point.
Or it could be like the Lion King game, where you think it's only going to take 15 minutes, and it's actually one of the most difficult platformers ever.
I think you actually found the scariest game ever made, because my heart literally like stopped for a moment when you brought up the Lion King. Yikes. Oh, well,
long live the king.
Speaking of scary media from someone's childhood.
Definitely
maybe we kick off our appetizers right now.
It's definitely not our childhood, but it is definitely from many people's childhoods. Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. Not the game, the movie.
No. Yes.
So Matt, do you have any experience with Five Nights at Freddy's, the games?
I went to Chuck E. Cheese when I was a child.
I also went to Chuck E. Cheese when I was a child. And, but that's as much as I know. So for those who may not be in the know on the FNAF deep lore, just upset several people, and I'm very happy about it. Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game series loosely based around the very sensible fear of animatronics and people in weird mascot suits, because no one can tell me that they went to Chuck E. Cheese and thought, yes, the animatronic band is reasonable and makes sense, and in no way instills a deep, ongoing fear of weird things that move suddenly at me with loud hissing noises. Yeah, right, exactly. It's,
Hi, kids!
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing good about it.
Right.
Except underneath the Chuck E. Cheese at my local one, there was like little mouse holes under the stage where the kids could crawl in and go into little rooms and pockets. Looking back, that was a fire hazard and a half, because what we would do as kids when we didn't want to leave Chuck E. Cheese was we'd go hide in the holes that were too small for parents to get into. It was wild. And it was all under the animatronics, so you heard them moving. I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Now we just have Dave and Buster's, which I would argue is better.
Sure. But so there's an interesting thing happening. So the Five Nights at Freddy's movies has been kind of in a production stalemate for like 10 years. Because, I mean, this series came out a while ago, and I would say that outside of its like core like cult following has sort of probably lost prevalence. I think that's a fair thing to say. And so to have the movie come out now is an interesting time, and I was curious how it was going to do at the box office, especially because the Rotten Tomatoes score is something that I always find very interesting, and I think is indicative of how we all watch movies today. So the Tomato Meter, which is the reviewers for Rotten Tomatoes that they use to aggregate, 136 of them brought it to a tomato score of 26%, where the audience score, which is 1,000+ verified ratings, is at 88%.
That just sounds to me like they sent a bunch of people to review a movie, not have it knowing like the important source material.
Right.
Well,
but here's the thing. So I have not seen the film yet, but scores like this is the type of thing that makes me the most interested to actually check it out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I am both of these groups. So I'm always curious where I land.
Right.
And I don't know anything about it, which means they think I'm going to be in the 26%, but who knows? I like fun, weird, kind of cheesy horror movies, so maybe it will be great. I have no idea.
Would you say that you like Chuck E. Cheesy things?
You've made me miserable, William. Please keep it up. And the last thing about it was we were trying to dig up like how it was doing box office wise, because again, that's what's going to matter if people want more of these or this becomes a franchise, etc. And Will, you found that it costs what, 25 mil?
Yeah, the estimates are somewhere between 20 and 25 mil, depending on which source you look at. But it's nothing outrageously more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say even if we conservatively say it's double that magically,
yes, it's
still doing pretty well.
Yeah, it did 78 mil opening domestic, and international 52, so it's at 130. And I believe the rights, as we've said, is for Peacock or whatever it's going to be put on there. That'll bring us some more.
It is actually already there, which is very interesting. Really? It's simultaneously released in theaters and on Peacock, which was fascinating. I did not know that until I heard some friends in a Discord chat talk about it. And they were like, yeah, I'm going to go see it in movie theaters. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to go to the movies. I'm just going to watch it on Peacock. But it did get people, like it was the thing that was getting people to sign up for this new streaming service, because
that's all they can hope for.
Right.
I want to read a comment because we cannot show it on screen. Turin331 says, frankly, I might side with the critics more. I hate the jump scares, and if their movie is mostly that, then I will be annoyed. So this is a super interesting point. I am right there with you. However, but. So I'm actually going to be writing, I have to do it, I think, today. I'm waiting to the last minute to do my homework. TLDR News, I don't know if you've seen or you follow them, but they're doing a newspaper, like they're an online news place, but they're doing a physical newspaper, like for fun, just one issue. Sure. And I'm writing a bit about video game movies. And one of my big things about video game movies, and what I think makes a perfect video game movie, is it's not enough to like retell the story. You need to somehow find the vibe or the emotional tether beyond narrative that a game provides you. It's why I think that the Mortal Kombat, the original film, does it incredibly well, and a few others do, where stuff like, all of the Yui Bowl stuff or any of that stuff just doesn't, because it's recycling what it was. If you can find the joy that because Mortal Kombat is a stupid premise. It's a supernatural martial arts tournament on an island that sucks people into it.
For the fate of the multiverse?
For the fate of for Earthrealm. But to that point, like, so I wonder if, with going back to Five Nights at Freddy's, I won't like jump scares. Constant jump scares do annoy me. However, from what I understand about the property of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's a lot of jump scares.
Right.
So by my own criteria, it will be doing, if it pulls off a competent film around that as well, it will have been a successful video game movie if it is giving you the experience that you wanted and received from the game. Now, it's strange to have the editing trick of a jump scare be that thing, but I don't know if I could think of another property that's better known for that kind of thing than Five Nights at Freddy's. So, I don't know. This got me, when we were talking about this morning, it got me way more interested in the movie than I've ever been. And it has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Okay, Matt. Speaking of other spooky industry news, what if I told you that in the future, your disk drive will require an internet connection?
What?
Matt loves that song so much.
You were going to say too much, and then you would have been wrong. But you were correct, and you said so much.
That's correct. All right, so some recent news has come to light that the new PS5 Slim has an attachable disk drive. Like, you can pop off the side plate and pop on the disk drive. But then it needs an internet connection.
And no one's quite sure why. At this point, at point of recording, we haven't been able to confirm from Sony or any of the news outlets, all of them have sort of reached out, that, like, why exactly that is. It says on the box of the new drive, of the new PlayStation, that to pair the detachable drive, you need an internet connection, which says to me it is a one-time thing.
That's our hope.
But we were trying to figure out, well, I mean, A, we know how we feel about it. Yuck.
Right.
Because why do we need to link the usability of a piece of hardware to a server that will eventually go down maybe before the hardware does, depending on how well it's built.
It seems so arbitrary to me. Like, why? I guess it might be to avoid needing drivers, but why?
So I don't know. There's a couple different ideas. Like, I don't see that, like, and people are like, oh, this is an attack on game preservation or things of that ilk. I don't think it actually, Ice, you just brought it up. No, great. I don't know if that's like, there's no benefit to this for them in that way. Like, it's only a detriment. So what are they trying to skirt? I think it's something else that inadvertently has that negative effect. Mm-hmm. And the thing there's, I was trying to remember it, and obviously digging into the legalese of absolutely all of this is difficult to do. But some people thought it was due to a some twists around sort of the different acts about right to repair and the way that it has something to do with the way that, like, drivers are legally covered, etc.
And the licensing to play certain kinds of media, because, like, you need a license to play certain, like, things.
Like a Blu-ray drive or an Ultra Blu-ray drive, you need a license from Sony, I think, owns it? I don't know.
That sounds
anymore.
Correct, because Microsoft was big on HD DVD and then lost that rendition of the format wars. I
got my Xbox 360 HD DVD side drive in the closet right now, Will. That's scary.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think that's probably what it has to do more with, like, sort of getting around international laws of that. Now, granted, is it stupid? Absolutely.
Right.
And hopefully, and again, what would be good, this is the point. I think I'm not going to, like, condemn this choice. What I will say is what would be really good for Sony to do. Sony, if you're listening, Gomez Addams here. Perhaps you should tell people what exactly you're doing and why before throwing it out to the wolves to devour by themselves. The end. End of public statement from Gomez Addams. Just let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, just tell us, right?
Oh, it's because of this law and this law. We have to do this. Don't worry if, upon deprecation of the server or whatever, Like there'll be a patch to make it do the thing, like you know.
Yep, there are lots of ways around this. They made a choice. We wish they would have made a different one, but
yes.
Okay, cool. Speaking of choices that people have made that are making it more difficult to use their stuff. So, this came in like late last night, and it's reasonably breaking. Microsoft has a new policy that after November, I believe it is the 12th. I believe it is the 12th. You will be unable to use unauthorized accessories on Xboxes. Oh boy, so first off, no, and second off, stop it. Those are my official thoughts.
We reached out to William reached out to Mater.
Yeah, so
for comment.
Right, so Xwit chat immediately points out the biggest one, which is disability controllers. Weirdly, that's a case that it appears at first glance to be okay because most adaptive controllers right now are based on the official Xbox adaptable controller. So, like, weirdly, that one's okay. It's the main piece of pushback I've seen is from fighting games.
Mm-hmm.
Because people buy fight sticks and hitboxes, and those are unauthorized accessories.
Yeah.
That may not work.
Yep.
And so, or like, I don't know if Mad Catz is still in business.
It's not.
Okay, well,
I don't believe.
If they were,
let us know if we're wrong. Let us know if it's been revivified.
Matt's very happy about that mug.
I love this mug. Jamie got me this mug.
So I just like, there's no good reason for this.
No.
Right? There isn't one. If you have security concerns, it's because there's no legitimate reason to prevent people from using a device on their console if it's not an online play. And if it is an online play, why is that providing a competitive advantage? And that's kind of on a game-by-game basis. But, like, why is this a systemic? Why? No, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, just
and
don't.
Also,
like,
yeah,
it costs nothing to just don't. It's free. Just don't. It's free.
Daph says in chat, if they remember correctly, Mad Catz was bought up by Logitech a while back, which also sounds correct.
Yeah.
That's what's important. It's not important if it is correct. It's important if it sounds correct.
Yeah. Right. So, like, I don't know, but the error message that people are getting is a connected accessory is not authorized. Using unauthorized accessories compromises your gaming experience. For this reason, the unauthorized accessory will be blocked from use on November 12th, 2023. What?
Yeah, that's pretty garbage.
Okay. Do you know what's compromising my gaming experience? That I have to talk about Microsoft's terrible decision to lock people out from doing what they want with their own consoles.
Yeah, it's a complete, like, it's just leaning more and more into you're leasing your console.
Right.
It's
now,
crazy.
Yeah, we speaking of Microsoft Xboxes, we were stumbling around trying to remember, Matt, the Xbox Series S is the discless Xbox in the current milieu, which we totally missed when we were talking about digital only consoles and the digital only PS5 Slim. Right?
I don't believe it. I refuse.
I refuse to believe that Xbox is relevant anymore. If this is the kind of crap that they're going to
listen. Xbox is relevant. They just did a purchase we've talked about till death that's
fair.
Continued it on. And they own so much of a juggernaut that Xbox will continue to be relevant for an incredible long period of time. However, decisions like this will slowly chip away that relevancy over time, if not corrected in a different way, or we could just be going down a much darker timeline.
Yep. Not great. Hey, Matt.
I know.
Good. I will dance.
What's Discord doing, Will?
For every single one of us. So Discord's got some moderation changes that are coming in. So there's some good and some what I think is probably weird and not good, but probably not bad. So the good is now when someone receives moderation action from Discord, they will tell you why. As someone who's on Twitch, platform notorious for not telling people why moderation action's been taken against them, I really appreciate clear and transparent moderation. I think that's a virtue that we strive for here in the greater extra credits content sphere, both on Twitch and our Discord, YouTube. Try and be transparent about why we're moderating the way we're moderating. So that's good. There's going to be a whole like warning system, and the example that they gave was if someone says something offensive toward a protected group, it'll show you exactly what actions Discord took. The content's removed. You can't send messages for an hour. You can't upload files for an hour, and this violation will be flagged on your account until this date. Yeah. Here's here's why we did this, and you can go look at what your current account standing is. So that's all good. I think all of
it honestly mirrors, not to bring them back up again, but it also mirrors a lot of Microsoft's latest updates in its strike system and how it like better visibility of what and why is happening, what things are happening. So,
okay. Here's the other problem. They're going to be now doing more scanning of content uploaded to Discord somehow. And the how probably boils down to they're going to AI scan every piece of media that's uploaded to Discord.
Yes, they're not doing it by hand. It's not artisanal moderation. Homegrown, farm to table.
Farm table moderation.
Farm to table.
Good for me. Anyway, yeah. So there are because Discord serves a whole bunch of different communities of different kinds with different moderation guidelines and different tolerances or expectations regarding adult content. That's just like a truth of the matter, is that Discord runs the gambit from like, this is a completely safe space for teens to no teens are allowed. This is explicitly an adult only space. And both of those are within Discord's purview.
And I think, I don't know the legalese of when you have a Discord server and what the settings are and how liable you are for what and where, right? Like, but hopefully that's all in there for those communities to A, protect themselves, B, have Discord protect itself, and C, have everyone know exactly what they're getting into and why, and be the appropriate ages for whatever.
Correct. I do want to point out, Kalohi in chat says, my guess is that they will make it an opt-in thing. It is. Teen accounts have all of the filtering and scanning turned on in parental controls, and if you are an adult who does not have a parentally controlled Discord account, you can opt in or out as you choose. So that's not the issue on this. I think they're doing a good job with making it opt-in or opt-out. I just did want to address that. It's the scanning. The scanning is the weird part.
Yeah. It's funny, and I want to bring up, IXWT said something that they said they don't understand why it's so hard for companies to do this. Let people know what they're doing wrong. I agree. The interesting thing for these type of adjustments, I'm never sure, Will. Maybe Brad can answer now, or Janet can answer, when this is on the YouTube device on the most spooky day. But it feels to me like these concerns get addressed, like, last. It feels and I think it's because the cynic in me says it's because they have to ban so many people. They can either, the easiest thing is a blanket ban to keep the community healthy enough where people want to use it. The more complicated version is to let people know, and obviously there's value propositions of designing that system, yada yada yada. But also, I wonder if, like, when companies decide to do this, if they see their banned list has gotten to a certain amount that they see will actually dent into their profits.
Yeah.
Like, and I said that kind of evilly and I had the grin on my face, but like, and it is kind of a scummy way to think about it, but also two things can be true.
Yeah.
Like, I look, I want companies I like to do well and keep their user bases safe. So
Yes.
if those two things align in a weird dark marriage, then I think that's an okay thing. I was curious, like, what do people think the onus of these choices are?
Yeah, I definitely want to hear more in the comments from that. By the way, speaking of evil companies doing evil things to continue their own use, everyone's least favorite monetization method, microtransactions, coming to Discord as well. The last one is
what?
You're gonna be able to buy profile skins. So if you're a Discord Nitro member, you already have access to the shop, but you can buy like cool little profile frames and cool little profile skins. And here's the real problem, Matt. I can't look because I have streamer mode turned on so that Discord doesn't do the thing that you're doing with the button to chat accidentally. They're like $5 or $6. They're not like pennies. It's not like 50 cents for a cute little profile picture. It's like dollars for a profile like frame, right? And so, okay, so two things. One, it's opt-in cosmetics. Okay, sure. Two, why though? Like, why did you spend time and effort designing a microtransaction store for Discord when you could have just made Nitro better and more appealing and given more people reason to buy Nitro?
Discord, I speak to you now. Why do you torture me so? When you know full well that is my beautiful wife's job. This is stupid. This is dumb. And actually, we have a dessert story at the end, kind of about something about microtransactions as well. So we'll go to that when it's time.
And yes, to answer Rhythmer's question in chat, currently you would need a Nitro subscription to access the shop. We got the beta for it a couple weeks ago. We'll be getting the full version for everyone in a little while. Okay.
Yuck on a duck.
Hey, Matt, speaking of profits.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk Baldur's Gate 3 real quick. A report that was shared by The Gamer, by a couple other news outlets, shows that Baldur's Gate 3 has been so successful that it's the lion's share of a 40% increase in digital revenue for Hasbro overall. Do you know?
Crazy.
Okay, you're right. That's not for Larian. That's not for like Wizards. That's digital sales for Hasbro.
Which
overall.
again, you can dig into it more on The Gamer and a couple other sites, but this is obviously due to the fact that, there has to be, I imagine, with the license, even though there is the OGL and all of that stuff, they probably get a percentile of a sale on each thing is my guess, if this is such a rise based on the success of it. And also it's sort of doing a tangential thing, which is, making properties that are also tied with Dungeons and Dragons also more profitable, or they're thinking it is. Like even the magic sets that are based in Dungeons and Dragons have gone up since this. Well, and physical books, and like the whole thing is like just pushing the game more.
It was offset a bit because of the early access period, but there are actual D&D cards for most of the Baldur's Gate 3 crew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is a whole
Which
thing.
is funny because of the early access thing. It seems anyway, they're having a really hard time figuring out exactly. And it's funny because you think this would just be a number on a chart somewhere, but they think they don't really know exactly how many games are sold yet. The Gamer reports the best guess that they have right now is between 5.2 and 12.1 million sales on PC, thanks to the game's Steam database page. But like, that's a big difference. Hasbro does own D&D, Theo. Theo just asked that in the comments again. So sorry, we cannot put the things on the screen this time. It is busted. Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, which owns Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
We have a excellent, might be my favorite video we've ever made on this channel called Dungeons and Disasters, and it's the history that Hasbro refuses to learn from. It's a 22-minute long time traveling animated special. Please go check that out. It goes into the entire history of D&D and how pervasive the first, third, and fifth editions were, and how restrictive the second and fourth editions were, and how that choked the industry to near death both times.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. So that's just interesting, and we'll look at it. But speaking of big companies with large profits doing interesting things.
Any questions?
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.
Well, that little miserable pile of secrets is Bill Gates in a David S. Pumpkins costume.
Yeah. So Microsoft is doing a restructuring of some of the Xbox wing of the company.
Yes.
Bethesda and ZeniMax are now both getting direct reports for the companies as a whole to a singular person in Xbox. I'm not making this name up, Matt. His name is Matt Booty.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. His name is Matt Booty.
I would kill for that name.
It's pretty good.
I would die for that name. Either way, what bliss. Tell me about the booty, Will.
Mr. Booty is going to be... Yeah, I got you.
Hell yeah.
Is going to be promoted to the president of game content and studios. So he's going to be the Microsoft head of ZeniMax and Bethesda. And actually, a bunch of people are speculating right now, and I kind of agree with this, that the big reason that Microsoft feels the need to take direct control is Redfall. Redfall! It did not do so well. In fact, it's widely being reported as the largest flop of the year. No one likes Redfall, including Arcane. And it's kind of sad, right? Because the world...
It's super sad. Devs, worked on it, and they were probably rushed and weren't led correctly, and, didn't have a team to, pull it all together, and it just...
Yeah. I don't know what the upshot in terms of development for those studios is going to be, but it is very interesting that it's that Microsoft's making a change in the way that it's done business for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And that a game's failure to the scale of Redfall could probably be the cause. I mean, it makes them look bad, right?
Yeah.
And Microsoft
was supposed to be a premier exclusive thing.
Yeah.
And it absolutely was not.
It was so hyped. It's still on my wish list, Matt. I was cruising around Steam looking for games for 2 of our gameplay segments here on the Twitch channel, Rogue Review on Tuesdays and Free to Play Fridays on Thursdays. No, it's on Fridays.
Madness.
Madness. And I was looking through, and my wish list came up, and it was like, yeah, Redfall's still on your wish list and still $70. And I was like, every time I see that, it just makes me sad.
Yeah.
Right? And I think they want to reduce the amount of sad that they're giving people, because sad people don't spend money on the products that are making them sad, generally speaking.
Fair argument.
Yeah.
So I will say this. One thing I do want to shout out is where is it? It's so far up on the chat. I just saw it. It was a great comment. Oh, Medusa Skirt says this image that we're showing you right here of Bill Gates as David S. Pumpkins is, quote, the last thing you see before you get bought out. Perfect. No notes.
Amazing.
I'm trying to think if there was another comment here that someone. Oh, and Kalohai says Redfall and Gollum in a race that they don't want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big stinkers this year.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Anyway, so hold on. So this now concludes our appetizers. Yes, Will, or is there one more?
We have one more. I was getting ready to transition to it.
It was on a second page.
Sorry, there are page breaks. I use continue.
Allow me to wipe your mind of my flub.
Speaking of companies making disappointing decisions to prevent flops. let's talk Disney real quick. So, Disney has a game called Disney Dreamlight. Matt, you'd never heard of this game until we started talking about this.
I only deal in nightmares, Will.
Excellent. For those not in the know, it is a cozy farming sim a la... it's more on the Animal Crossing end of things than the Stardew Valley end of things, but you do have characters that you can build relationships with, and you go out and princesses and save the world and all that. It's been in early access for a hot second. And its early access period is finally ending. However, there's been a bit of a stinker, which is that originally the developers of Disney Dreamlight Valley stated that it would become a free-to-play game with microtransactions for things like skins and additional content packs when it came out. And that will not be the case. It will, in fact, be moving to a premium models. So in order to get into the early access, you had to buy a founder's pack, which was some $30 to $70. And they're keeping that model instead of moving to free-to-play when the game leaves early access.
It's almost as if they wanted, instead of getting some of the money, all of the money.
That
sucks.
Yeah, it's not really great. I should have pulled this up earlier, and I do apologize. I'm pulling up the Steam DB page.
Right.
So far, it has not resulted in the review score tanking. It's been developed and published by Gameloft. It's not the most widely played game. But it is currently sitting at 2,500 people in game with an all-time peak of 14,000 on Steam.
Well, this is the thing. If it's a free-to-play game, sure, microtransaction away what you're doing. Like, I don't love that model, but you have to make money somehow or the game doesn't exist.
Sure.
It's when full-price games, again, I'm chopping at the bit, Will, for our dessert topic. When it's full-priced games pulling free-to-play nonsense with their microtransaction shops, yes, is when I think the double dipping will become too much, and not because they don't sell.
Yep.
Because people will keep buying. I think we've proven throughout human history that people will continue to buy things that kill them.
Don't look at it.
But I think when press gets so bad that when you Google a game, the first thing that comes up that says like blah 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 is a ripoff or this is zero value, like something like that, that's when they listen.
Yep.
So we'll see what they do.
Yep.
Not terribly a fan.
I gotta believe they've done the cold calculus on this, but I think that they're bad at math. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right.
Yeah.
And
before we get into the main course, Will.
Yes.
I have a quiz for you and Brad and Janet.
Yes.
Will, you first.
Uh-huh.
I want you to tell me what the scariest sound in a video game is.
Okay. I happen to think it's the point blank chainsaw rev from RE4, because it's very all encompassing and you just sort of run. It's
an excellent choice. An elegant choice for an elegant anthropomorphic truck man.
Well, thank you.
Brad, what say you? The sound of stripping duct tape. The hiss. But many of you have gotten it correct. I will now cause your soul to scream in anguish, and you can thank me later. That is the sonic drowning noise.
I I love Kulohai's comment. The I have to poop in traffic sound.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. That's what it is.
All right, we desperately.
Wow, chat blew up there. I'm curious what Janet thought before that played. If someone was able to type a comment before I played that.
Yep. Well, we definitely needed that little bit of levity because the next story.
The next story is to die for. And by to die for, I mean the killing of esports.
That's correct, Matt. So, this past week, Nintendo updated their community tournament guideline. And put bluntly and succinctly, took esports way out back and sent it to a farm upstate. The changes are very restrictive. There are now restrictions on player count for in-person or online tournaments. There are caps on entry fees. There are restrictions on making there are caps on entry fees for entering the tournament and fees for spectators. There are caps on prize payouts, and you can't make money off of anything, and it's real bad.
To just summarize what William has said and more, we'll link to the actual restrictions and what the community tournament guidelines on Nintendo of America's actual own website are. But basically, it is 4,303 words long. That is longer than
most EC scripts.
Well, definitely more than EC scripts. Maybe 2 or 3 credit or history. Like it's crazy restrictive. And what it has essentially done is kill any Nintendo esports scene outside of a real low stakes starting the mom and pop shop-esque version of a tournament. Like I couldn't even see this being beyond like a large group of friends in like a community Discord in your town. Like it basically is destroying the ability to throw large tournaments that are focused on Nintendo games.
That's correct. The one that really just drove it home for me is you can't sell concessions or merch. And that just like blew my mind as like one of the big ones.
Yeah, so obviously Smash is the one that I came to first. Will was thinking about Mario Kart. Although I'm not familiar a ton with Mario Kart tournaments outside of like PAX, but that's not the same thing.
Right, and Mario Kart tends to be more time trial based, and there are like leaderboards for that.
Sure.
Throughout its history, right, especially with like shortcuts and speedruns. I was just thinking that that's the other big first-party Nintendo title that lends itself towards some kind of competition.
Sure.
Right, because like Mario Party is not a thing you can esports. Right, it's even more ridiculous than having competitive Monopoly because it's 100% luck.
But remember, Will, so long ago, when Nintendo released its video releasing what the Switch was.
Yep.
Do you remember this? I think they've taken it down now. They've actually made it into unlisted mode or private on their YouTube page because people were like, oh, the Switch 2 is coming out. I don't know if that's the case. I bet you they just like lost the rights to the music in the trailer or something. But the end of that trailer was a group of people playing an esport of Splatoon, or probably Splatoon 2 at that point, and then marching out after practice into a giant arena. Now, Will, does Nintendo put on any tournaments of their own?
Not to this scale.
Do we think they're gonna?
No. I mean, okay, so it's no secret that the Nintendo despises the way that the community plays Smash. They really dislike it. They dislike a lot of they dislike the no items Final Destination Fox only meta. right? Which has become a joke, but is sort of emblematic of how far the way competitive Smash works from the way that Smash is designed to be played, right? I don't know. It just makes me sad. Like, all of this just makes me sad. And they're well within their rights.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the... Look, sure. Yes. Yep, they are. That's normally my line, too.
Yeah.
But, like, I was trying... When I was reading all these stories, and they're coming to us from multiple places, obviously Nintendo's website, Kotaku is reporting on it, obviously GameSpot, etc. Nintendo is a company that, for better or worse, controls its IP with an iron fist. This is a company that didn't make a film between the original 93 Mario Brothers movie and the one that just released this year.
Oh my god, you made me remember the 93 Mario Brothers movie.
Side note, if anyone's looking for a Christmas gift for me, they are doing a 4K remaster that is a beautiful box. It's way too expensive. Don't buy it for me. But it's like has like cells from the film, like frame counts. It's like, it's nuts. It has so much stuff. And I just rewatched it, and it actually, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's good, but it has moments that, like, that movie took a swing where the current one just didn't. And like I'm finding in my elder statesman years that taking the swing is far more interesting than not.
That's correct.
But yeah, so what I was trying to figure out is, like, okay, why? Like, Nintendo, you're kind of gonna be releasing a new system soon. Like, maybe we focus a little bit on that. And I was like, well, is there a tie? Like, is there some sort of, like, how could this, if I want to put on my my insane conspiracy theory hat, which I have many, why? Yeah, you got it, Will. Thank you.
Put it on like that.
Why?
Yeah.
Why would they do this? I mean, there's obviously classic Nintendo wants to control its IP, doesn't like people that maybe it doesn't believe share its values using it for any sort of profit.
Yeah.
And they knew that if they just said no to everyone clean, then that would be a larger backlash. So they did this hyper restrictive thing to hopefully just have a backlash and then have them stop and have no one talk about esports anymore.
So I think here's a very interesting thing, right? This doesn't make Nintendo any money, right? This choice doesn't make Nintendo any money. They're not going to fill the void first party that this is going to cause in any kind of tournament scene, I don't think. But Nintendo is acting in a way that is very counter to the way that we're used to companies acting, which is, this doesn't make them any money, and the risk is relatively low, but the risk is not, the risk prior to this in their mind was not zero, and the theoretical potential loss of money that would happen from these tournaments in some format was not worth it. So they weren't making money on them anyway. They're going to continue to not make money with lower risk.
And I also think, even beyond risk, what this feels like to me is that they don't believe that Nintendo and these the larger tournaments, as they were, probably share the same, like, core values or whatever. Like, it feels very old business. Like, and Nintendo, out of all of the video game companies at this point, I would say, is probably the most old business video game company out there.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's just it. The interesting thing is, if tournaments are limited in this way, does that kill? I don't think it does. I'm just going to ask the question. Does that kill future Smash Brothers sales?
No.
Unless, I mean,
so
I agree.
So I think that there's a degree of scale. Okay. So importantly, right, the vast majority of Smash players are not competitive players.
Right.
You don't hear from the vast majority of Smash players, right? Smash sold really well. It's in fact the reason I bought my Switch, despite the fact that I'm not good at it and don't particularly enjoy it, right? But like, the vast majority of Smash players are not competitive players and are not affected by this significantly. there is a diehard, very loud minority that is affected by this, right?
But I think this signals that they don't want to be involved with that minority. Like, I think this is like a big, like, well, time to go our separate ways. Yeah. And it really stinks for people that love this game and this aspect, these types of games, that aspect of it. They will find other places to go. And I believe someone said in the chat, oh, it's IXWT again, that this hurts them, but it will be a rounding error. Like, it's not going to really do anything.
Correct. There was another question, a line of questioning about games done quick. I have to believe that this will not affect them. I have to believe that Games Done Quick is large enough as an organization that they have direct contact in some fashion.
The only way they'll go after Games Done Quick, because it's overall a charity. The only way that that'll happen is if someone doesn't realize what they're doing at Nintendo, is like, that looks like a large tournament. No. Like, and then because it's just going to make a bigger dust up than they need. Also, I will be curious, and we'll obviously be talking about it on this show if it ever comes to it, when the first lawsuit for something like this ever happens, if it ever does. This feels like something they're trying to limit like 80% of the things, but if people kept doing it, I'll be really curious to see if there's actually court filings.
I've actually heard, we shan't name any names. I have heard of several Smash tournaments whose official position on this is they're going to have to sue us, and they're just going to go for it anyway.
Whose official position is, let me read it right here.
You won't.
Come at me, bro.
That's correct. That is correct. I think it will be very interesting to see how this shakes out, especially because what this fundamentally gets down to, right? So let's say they manage to find a way to advertise the tournament that doesn't associate it with Nintendo directly, right? Because there's two things, right? One, Nintendo doesn't want it in any way to be seen that they are condoning or sponsoring or interacting with these tournaments, right?
Yes.
That it's all unofficial, right? Okay. And then the other one is, at some point, this is going to wind up in intellectual property law on, can they stop people from getting together to play the game? And I think the answer is probably yes, but I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if that's actually settled law anywhere.
Right.
And I think that that's a really big question. I think that there will be some kind of major IP law case if this goes to court somewhere, and that will have a direct impact on a lot of things. Because, again, it's not necessarily online. It's not necessarily like there are a lot of tournaments that will be affected by this, that it feels really weird that Nintendo's like, hey, you and 300 of your friends can't get a bunch of CRTs together in a warehouse for a weekend and play for a new car. That feels
right.
That, like, when you boil it down, that feels really weird, right? If there's like no publicity and no anything else, there's going to be this weird moment where Nintendo's like, you can't play our game that way. And people are like, but we didn't say that you were involved in it, and it was us doing it without any publicity, and somehow you found out about it, and now we're getting sued for, like, I'm imagining this weird case where it's like 500 people playing for a car in a warehouse with no publicity and no cameras.
So I don't think they'll ever go after anything without publicity and without cameras. I think
agree.
If there's one that has publicity and cameras, if there's any company that would go after something like that for, like, this is the wrong word, and I'm going to regret it the second I say it, but, like, for some weird sense of corporate pride, like that they would, like, it would be them.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it has to have publicity around it somehow.
Right.
Streamed something.
Right. I also like New Guy 95's suggestion that we should advertise a Hyper Crush sister tournament. Totally not Super Smash Brothers. It's Hyper Crush.
Sponsored by Flixel Sticks.
That's right. 100%. Yeah, and so I don't see any way that this improves the state of the gaming community at all. This feels like a pure negative for everyone that's not Nintendo's Shark Tank full of lawyers.
And maybe the people at Nintendo that believe their values are something that they want to keep away from fighting game. Like, I have no idea. I'm just trying to think of where that value, or again, my hyper conspiracy thing is like, well, what if they're setting up to do something with it? But I don't think they are.
Yep.
Although if they did something with Pokemon, they would literally print money, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's complicated legal things around that as well, based on the fact that like who owns what in that system.
Yeah, but yeah. By the way, there is a there is a line that just makes this all even more complicated. So you know how you're like, this is 4,000 some odd words.
Yes, 4,303.
Okay, great. You ran word count on it. There are 6 of them.
I counted them.
There are 6 of them that really are just a big old additional wrinkle to all of this, which is one of the last sections of bulleted text is, in addition, Nintendo games may not be used for community tournaments that, last bullet, quote, involve anything that Nintendo deems inappropriate, end quote. Those 6 words mean this document means whatever we want it to.
They could have just saved us 3,000.
Right?
4,287 words.
I can't do math right now, so I'm going to say that you're right.
I have an accountant.
That's right. Yeah. So it just, yeah. And there were already levers in the document for hate speech stuff. There were already a lot of the things that would normally be covered by this. But
yeah.
it is still, it's interesting, right? Because we just went through this with Minecraft. Because Minecraft did the whole, we're going to say what you can and can't make with Minecraft, right? As content.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like Nintendo's version of that, because Nintendo doesn't have sandboxy games in the same way, right? Other than, I guess, theoretically, Animal Crossing, but it's not a sandbox at the same level that Minecraft is at all.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're different, but this feels a lot like the we made the thing, we say that everything that you make with it is derivative, so we get full control over that deal sort of moment. Yeah.
Anyway, that has been our tasteless dinner.
Yeah. All right, we need
Perhaps
dessert.
We bring the energy back up with some dessert. Okay, so Will, apparently, there might be something happening that makes seeing anime slightly easier.
Yeah, so there's a weird thing where if you have Amazon Prime Video, there's this additional thing where you can add a channel. It already exists for like Stars and I think Cinemax and a couple of others. And Crunchyroll is going to be one of them. Now, I want to stress something very clearly.
Yes.
Very, very clearly. Very clear. This does not mean you get Crunchyroll free with your Prime subscription. It does not mean that. Before anyone lies off and is like, oh my gosh, we're going to Crunchyroll for free. No. No.
You think Amazon would give you something for free?
But they will give you a free Prime sub every month. And if you haven't used it yet, you should use it before you lose October's Prime sub. And here might be a good place to use it. Thanks. They're adding it to the Amazon marketplace.
Like channels page you can buy or subscribe to through them.
Right. So it's $8 a month for the normal Crunchyroll, and it's thank you, Ian.
Look at that. Ask and ye shall receive.
No, got to remember to tell people to use their Primes.
Thank you, Helio.
And the
Oh, thank you, Ian. Pardon. Yes.
So there's $10 a month, and you can download anime. You can download stuff. Like it includes downloading even through Amazon, which I find fascinating because like why would you not just spend $10 and download the whole back catalog and then pay for another $10 a month when you finish? Anyway, maybe that's just my brain.
Are you suggesting William
to
sail the dangerous seas?
No.
As an aquatic?
No, not at all. It says you can download the $10 a month thing says you are allowed to download and watch this offline.
Oh, but that's different though. You read that terms of service, my friend. You can watch and download it for as long as you're a subscriber.
Sure.
It's the same as every other mobile app for every
Sure,
thing.
I guess. So because that's way. Oh, and Miri made in chat says that because that's way more storage than any one person should have. You leave my stack of 1,000 terabytes of storage alone. I need it for editing, actually. Do you have any idea how much high quality footage we shoot in a week? It's a lot.
So much!
So much.
60 frames per second, even. You can see me wiggle this like so smoothly. If it was 30 seconds, it would not look this good.
Yeah, 30
and that's why we need it.
Yeah, that's correct. So, this is very interesting because I think Amazon wants to solve the streaming wars. I think they want to...
Well, solve. They want to win.
They want to win. In a very interesting way. They want you to pay the amount of money, but have it all in one place. Which isn't a solution that we love, but I will argue, as the advocate of this particular devil for this particular story, that it is better to be paying a bunch of stuff through one channel than have all of the disparate, like, little fingers of different subscriptions that it's easier to forget about, at least for me, right? I have to, like, do an inventory of, like, which things I have, and if I had all of them in one app that I was paying the same amount for, I would prefer that.
Yes, the convenience is something. It does start getting into a lot of what we're discussing with even Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard and like all that stuff. Like the second that one thing keeps controlling all of the things and gets a cut of the thing, then we're going to get less things. Thing, where is Thing? Oh, he's not here right now. So basically, you have to wait for it. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. I don't know. I see the ease of use case. I also don't love, obviously, wrapping everything in an Amazon wrapper.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't Amazon and there was a new, like if Roku was doing this.
Yes.
It might be, and Roku has tried this. The problem is that Roku is tied to Roku devices.
Right.
I think that this idea has merit. I'm just very interested to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. We've got your dessert now.
The digestif, if you will.
Indeed.
I will now speak directly to NetherRealm Studios and Warner Brothers Games. You have committed a great atrocity on the Mortal Kombat community by charging between $10 and $12 for one single fatality for the holidays.
That's right.
This is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
So listen, you all know, I love Mortal Kombat. We played it on the channel. I think Mortal Kombat 1's a good game. They are showing their hand so quickly, beyond what I even thought was reasonable. I think this has a lot to do with Zaslav. And I think it has a lot to do with trying to milk as much money out of Division as possible. They are like, it's standard freemium BS, right? So the fatality, I believe, costs
1,200 Krista?
1,200, but you can't buy 1,200 crystals. It's like a GD Ren fair with tickets for your meals. Like, you have to buy this amount of crystals that cost this amount of money. And yes, if you break down the amount of crystals, it's $12, but you kind of have to spend at least 15 because you have to buy the $4.99 and the $10.99.
And then you have 300 crystals left over.
And then you just have to buy more to make sure that it, like, it's getting, like, again, going back to prices for games pretending that they're free to play. It's something that I don't want to ever kind of be quiet about. This is something that should be seen because it costs them nothing beyond. I bet you this thing was already even on the disc, like that it came with. They've data mined a lot of stuff off the disc already. It's like they're just releasing DLC in timed ways off the disc, which is terrible for a full-priced game. This could have been a balm for the community that's already feeling pretty spent on like lackluster costume and cosmetics for way too much money. But instead, they turned it into a cudgel that the entire community is basically raging at them for. And I think we're seeing this more and more across the games industry. I'm hoping that enough people are mad and not buying things like this where it doesn't matter. But, like, it's gotten pretty bad. Like, I hate bad-mouthing this studio because I like NetherRealm and I like the game, but case in point, there was a pre-order bonus for the Jean-Claude Van Damme skin and audio track for Johnny Cage, because in the Mortal Kombat history, original Mortal Kombat was supposed to be a game kind of based off Bloodsport, and Jean-Claude Van Damme's character was supposed to be like Johnny Cage. They couldn't get the rights, so they made their own game, and that's why Johnny Cage is a movie star in the game. So now, for the first time, if you order, there was a thing on the screen that was like, will only be available in premium bundle. Like, to get, it's a chase piece. They're enticing you to buy the premium bundle.
Uh-huh.
I don't think you should ever do this as a company, but they did it. And now, I think a month later, they're selling it for crystals in the store. And it's like, so you've openly said, I think it comes from corporate's inability to realize that words have meaning for a player base, for humans. But it's actually getting really disgusting how bad it is getting for that game and a lot of games. I mean, again, the Disney thing was a real big, it was going to be a real big kerfuffle, I think, especially after people were preparing for something else. I know that, like, what was the other skins thing? There's just skins seem to be in full priced games costing an exorbitant amount. Yeah. And what it's causing, even if it's making money for the company, I do believe it is doing irreparable damage to the company's brand.
Yes.
Like, slowly. And maybe they don't care because they want all the money in the specific amount of time. Bless you. But at the end of the day, when it starts getting to the point where you're Googling the game and like, oh, should I get this? And it's like, horrible microtransactions, I hope it hits their bottom line, even if there are whales or people buying this garbage.
We're getting very used to bait and switches as a culture, right? Like,
yeah.
The whole era of crypto, which is now largely over, finally, crashing and burning, but like the whole idea of like a rug pull or a bait and switch, like, really entered the cultural vernacular, and it feels like a lot of these companies are like, it's working for crypto. What if it worked for us?
And while I advocate for keeping all of your currency in an actual crypt, I will not stand for cryptocurrency.
Well done. I like that. That's a good one.
Anyway, I was pissed. I just want to talk about it. I know even our community isn't as big into the Mortal Kombat scene as I am, but like, this is some special grade A BS. Yeah. And NetherRealm, do better. And if you're being blink twice, dangle Scorpion Spear twice out a window if WB is holding you hostage. Because that's what it feels like. Anyway.
I like Demon Works' comment. Not to be confused with cryptocurrency. That's correct. Very different.
Right.
Very different. All right, and that is going to do it for our stories today, but we do have to address last week's comments.
Yes!
First off, from me to all of you, thank you so much for all of those very kind birthday wishes. It was really nice to see so many people wish me a happy birth. It was really great. A reminder that if you're seeing this today, it is the head of EC's birthday. Zoe the cat will be turning...
Who is not here. I could go find her for this if we want.
No, it's okay. It's okay. She does it. She does as she will. We shall not inconvenience her with her
Zoe
screen time appearances. It's her birthday.
Zozo, come here. She's on a beanbag. I don't think she's moving.
Also, she's probably a little confused at why you're calling her in that particular voice. And you look...
No, that's how I talk to her all the time.
Well, for those who've never seen it, one of the interesting things Zoe loves to do is to lay on her back in Matt's arms and get her claws in his beard, which, as you may notice, is missing. So there is less enticement for her to be present.
She did do. I was holding her when I shaved, and she put her paw up to like do it, and then she just like moved it, like, and then didn't go for it again. And I was like, oh, that sucks.
Sorry, friend. So thank you so much for all of those birthday wishes. We did have a couple of comments on the on our question from last week, which was, if every Twitch streamer started simulcasting on YouTube, where would you go to watch them? And we had two really good comments that I thought we could read and just respond to real quickly, which was, the first one was from Red Cody. Funny enough, I joined Brad for the first time today, and Brad is lovely. I highly recommend visiting. We do too. Come join us over on Twitch. We're live most weekdays. I'm glad Twitch is allowing folks to simulcast to YouTube. I've seen several creators do it already, so it's good to go ahead and include that ability. For context, I'm someone who mainly does VODs because I can pause or rewind a bit, but have a few streamers I'll go watch live. More of a lurker, so I do agree with Matt. If one of the streamers I followed started simulcasting on YouTube, I'd likely stay on YouTube. If I felt more social, I'd probably go to Twitch. Honestly, I wish Twitch had a Roku app. I like listening to videos while crafting, and I don't want to be tied to my computer. If you're dealing with chat on that would be awful, but that's what mobile apps are for. I totally agree. I think that's one of the things that we missed when we were talking about that was that you don't have to pick. You can go to whichever one serves you on that day. If you're going to be, if it's up in the background while you're working on something, then YouTube's pretty good because you can just hit pause. Like I watch YouTube videos while I'm doing other stuff or desk work here because I can pause them and focus on something and then resume where I was. And if I can't pause a Twitch stream very easily, it theoretically exists, but not really.
Not really.
You have to like go back to the VOD of the thing that's actively being created, and then you can double speed it to catch up, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that's
it's an interesting point. I'm always curious about simulcasting, and maybe someday, when we have that mythical thing called time, we'll do an experiment, but like, I don't think that's ever,
Yeah. Yep,
but,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other comment was from Zapspeed, which also has a really good point. I never watch live content. Time zones make most streams happen at horrible times for me. I don't like scheduling my life around watching media. I hate it with TV, in my opinion, if it's only gone down. I don't care about interaction. I prefer to watch most people talking at least double speed, which for obvious reasons doesn't work live. I want people to simulcast to YouTube so that the VOD is available there instantly instead of having to wait for people to maybe eventually upload it. And I think that's another really good point. We wouldn't do that for breakfast because we like doing our condensed version, I think. But for those people that do stream to YouTube, it is really nice to have all of the player functionality of YouTube available immediately for that live VOD. And there are streamers that just take the entire VOD, they clip out their starting soon screen and maybe the part where they raid out at the end that are very Twitch specific, and they just throw that whole thing to YouTube with very little editing. And if you're going to do that, simulcasting makes more sense even than that. Because it cuts, you don't have to download it and then re-upload it. It's much easier. There's less movement of data around.
Less pieces.
I thought those
Thank you for writing in. If you have a question for us, you won't be able to ask, Gomez or Mater, but you'll be able to ask Matt and Will them next question next week if you leave them in any comment or blue sky us or do whatever you need to do.
Absolutely.
This has been a fun Games for Breakfast, Will.
Indeed. I enjoyed it greatly. I thought we had a lovely discussion. Janet, what do you think about the Nintendo thing? What is it? Is it going to affect your Nintendo buying habits, knowing that they're cracking down on esports, or is this just another thing that you expected Nintendo to do and kind of assumed that they'd done it already?
I would also like to ask another question. What is the worst in a full-priced game cost of a microtransaction you have ever seen in your entire life? Leave it below. I would like to know the answer to this.
Yeah.
I guess there's nothing left to do.
That's
Mater,
correct.
Except our ending of our program, which has been the same since time immemorial.
That's correct.
So to all of you, I say this classic phrase. I hope that someday you know the indescribable joy of having children and paying somebody else to raise them. That's my absolute favorite Gomez quote.